challenge panel. I was originally going to moderate that, but I figured, I would ask Marlon because I'm a filmmaker in that panel. And
Right.
before that, it had been a very long time since I had talked to people about my art, and it was kind of strange. Okay, so we have someone else who just entered the call. Hello, Pat Lang. Thank you for joining us. We are just about to get started. Okay, so screen is being recorded and shared. Okay. Hi again, I am BL Strangmoya. Thank you for joining my Lunch and Learn at 12 p.m. Eastern time on this fine Tuesday. All right, let's go to the next slide. So here's my little agenda. I tend to talk fast, so if I go too far through this, there's still a lot I can unpack here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, where I'm from, what I do. I'm going to talk about my career. I know I'm only 25, but I'm pretty confident in saying at this point I have a career. And I'm going to talk about my art, which is something I don't often do because, obviously I'm the creative director of the Ocean City Film Festival, as you see this little note here. So I tend to focus more on giving other artists a platform. So this is a little new to me. So who am I and what do I do? I consider myself a Delmarva native. As you might be able to tell, more so in the summertime, I'm actually Hispanic, half Hispanic. I was not born on the Eastern Shore. I was actually born in New York. But I consider myself a native because Delmarva is basically all I know. It was integral to forming who I am and somewhat of what I do these days. So I graduated Stephen Decatur High School, class of 2013. At Stephen Decatur High School, I got into film and video in around middle school. High school, I expanded on that, but I still, a film festival was nothing that I ever considered in my lifetime, even as someone who aspired to make films. So I graduated Towson University in 2017-ish. The story there is that I could not for the life of me pass a math class. So I think it was November of 2018 that I finally graduated because, December 2018, because I had to take night math classes at Warwick Community College. And that was a very strange time. I'll talk about that a little bit in the coming slide. But anyway, in 2017, in my last semester as a full-time student at Towson University, that's when the Ocean City Film Festival began, which I will also talk about in the following slides. And throughout all of this, I've been doing creative things. Art's a really big part of my identity. And that's something I don't often think about because I'm too busy not thinking about it, I guess. But yeah, it all sort of ties together. I'm the kind of person that I feel has to constantly be creating, whether it's music, film, or taking photos. I don't know why. I'm just one of those people. My therapist and I are still trying to figure it out. So this is a picture I really wanted to share. This is from 2017 in January. This is the Ocean City Inlet. I assume a lot of you might recognize these things before the parking meters. I forget the name of the app. I have it on my phone and everything. But I took this picture not even thinking about it, and now it's cool to look back and be like, wow, this is a piece of history. And that's something that really draws me to photography, is because I'm one of those people that feel it's really about the moment you're in and capturing that. I mean, obviously there's an objective formula to taking a visually appealing photograph, and anyone can really learn that, in my opinion. So the moment is always a huge deal. So January 2017, around when that picture was taken, I think it was actually taken when we were making this film. So this is a poster for a film called Takeaway. I was the producer and cinematographer. If you don't know what either of those do, a producer is the person who generally finds funding for the film, for which this film, there was no funding whatsoever, but I assembled the cast, I organized the whole thing. And I was a cinematographer, which means I operated the camera. It was directed by Eric Gelling, who he also wrote it. This was actually his thesis film. And we both had a hand in editing it. And it was starring Jonathan Fippman, Gabe Solomon, Carol Torrey, and Robert Forster, local actors who were great, very, very iconic. But this film is in this presentation because we were shooting this January 2017, and we needed a location. And I'd been familiar with the Art League of Ocean City because they were kind enough to let me teach a brief class on filmmaking there for high school students. So I asked Rena if I could use a classroom to film, and she was so gracious in letting us do that. And after the fact, we sat down and have a conversation. And I said, hey, I'd really like to show the film here whenever it's done. And she told me they were actually looking or interested in having someone organize a film festival. And 6 months later, we had this poster all the way on the left here, the inaugural Ocean City Film Festival, which was a whole process. So before I go into the film festival, I need to talk about my postgraduate life. I kind of feel like my life has happened in a very strange and nonlinear pattern since college, since graduating college. As you can probably assume, there aren't a lot of good job prospects for someone with a film degree and someone who lacks really essential social skills to thrive as a freelancer. So after graduation, after being a full-time student at Towson University, my wife and I moved to West Fenwick. This was before we were married, in June of 2017. And after the film festival, obviously I had to find a job. My first camera job, like professional camera job, actually started in 2016. I was an intern for shorecraftbeer.com and oceancity.com. And the following summer, I was also an intern there. So after the summer, I needed, an actual job because my internship was over at the end of the summer. So I got a job working for a company called Barksdale. They're the oldest school portrait company in the country. And holy crap, I just want to emphasize, this is the worst camera job anyone can ever have. Like, not only shooting school portraits, but for Barksdale, I mean, I don't want to defame anyone, but like, oh my goodness gracious, it was just a mess. And I was sick all the time. I had no free time. It was a very, very unfortunate period. The common thread like between all of these jobs is that the film festival was constant. So I didn't come back for another season after my first season of Barksdale. I mean, why would I? Then I was fortunate to get hired at Channel 47 in Salisbury, and that was pretty fun. I started there full time. But it wasn't a great place to work either, at least for me. A lot of people go there to, it serves as like a really good crash course for anyone trying to break into the news industry, especially on the Lower Eastern Shore. And I had a lot of great memories. I'm still really close with the people there, but it's another one of those things that I was losing too much time and not making enough money to be comfortable. So after Channel 47, I went freelance. I think I went freelance in the summer of 2018. And while I was a freelancer, I would still do some work there as a freelancer, which was pretty nice because, I wouldn't be called upon to go out live in the field at a moment's notice. I would just show up to film the pet segment or something like that, which is super fun because I love animals. So freelancing was really crazy. I did pretty all right as a freelancer, all things considered. I could have like been a total starving artist during that period, but I'm very amazed that I was able to survive. When I started freelancing, it was very much like a spur of the moment decision because after I had finished at ABC, when I finished at ABC, I really had no plans in place. I just knew I had to get out of there. So I worked at a hotel that I'm not going to say which for 2 days of my life. And those 2 days were just miserable enough for me to just not show up, which is the worst thing you can do to any job ever. But I was younger then, it was whatever. But the catalyst for that is like one morning I found someone looking for a photographer for that day. And it's like, you know what? Screw it. I'll see if he's interested in my work. And he paid me a decent amount for my first ever freelance job. And I went there, but it was after the third film festival in March 2019 that I realized, I can't keep this up. And when I was freelancing, I actually ended up moving to Annapolis because I ended up doing a lot of real estate shoots, which was really nice. I really enjoyed that. And I'll talk about that more later. So then in March of 2019, I had the darkest night of my soul when I started working for a real estate investment office. And that was just a very horrible experience that really informed a lot of the creative things I've done or I did in that year, and I'm still doing since. And then in December 2019, I was very fortunate to get connected back at Towson University as a full-time employee, which I'm still doing now. It's been just such an amazing experience, and I see myself doing this for the foreseeable future. I am the videographer for the College of Education, so it's pretty great. And this picture right here I took on my last day at Channel 47. It was very strange. I had my DSLR on me that day for whatever reason, I guess to take pictures of all the people I used to work with, memories and such. And I got sent to a live shot on Route 13. A giant bus was pulled over, and there were rumors circulating about like who was on the bus, what was it moving. One of the big things was like people thought it was carrying like illegal immigrants or something. So it wasn't a live shot, actually. They just sent me because it was breaking. So it's like, go out there, find B-roll. And in a situation like that, the cops won't let you anywhere close. So I had to park at on the side of a road on an underpass underneath Route 13 in Salisbury. And then I hiked all the way up the embankment to Route 13. And then I walk, and it's a super hot day because it's right early, humid summer. And, once I get close enough, the cops are like, you got to go. But I did get some footage, and it was funny. The whole time I was hiking up, I didn't realize the camera was running. So I come back to the studio, I turn it on, and there's just a bunch of footage of like my feet, and you hear me grunting like, trying to climb up the rocks. So anyways, all this stuff is important because the only linear thing in my life consistently that has come through in the end is the film festival. And this is the film festival through the years prior to 2021. Ian Postley is a good friend of mine who I've known since middle school. He's designed all these posters, and he's collaborated with me on a lot of other projects. So he has this very own visual style. You can see the way he illustrates. And there's always a theory behind these posters. I remember the first years, this was influenced by, the festival is this new thing, this new kind of people with a vision coming to Ocean City. So we conceived the idea for these three like androgynous humanoids just kind of looking around. And it's really visually striking. I really enjoyed it. And then this idea for season 2 in 2018, this was really like, okay, so we've built a community. How do you convey that around a film festival? And it's very similar. You have the beams and, high five. I thought that was really cool. Season 3, this is my in-laws dog. Her name's Gypsy. She's a Brussels Griffon Chihuahua mix. She's wonderful. Yeah, I just thought it'd be funny and cute. And it's like, well, look, we're having fun. We're still doing this. We built it from basically nothing. So that's how this turned into this like blueprint sort of thing with this cute little dog. And it's also my favorite t-shirt of the festival we've had so far. And this is last year, the 2020 festival. I love this one. And there's some funny stories around this one. So I wanted to convey the idea that we're like this alien force that came to Ocean City and just, started messing around. And so what's like iconic Ocean City scenery we can do that with? And it's like, sure, there are water towers, there are high rises, but like, let's really think about it. So we ended up using Jolly Rogers, and it never occurred to me that like, we're basically giving them like a free ad on our posters. So yeah, it's really cool. I like this a lot. And we probably still have some t-shirts, as some of you may be aware. And then we come to 2021, the 5th annual festival. It's a very similar idea to the other ones where it's like these people are coming together in Ocean City. And this poster was developed before the pandemic really became what we know it to be. So I think it was either December or January this year that our committee member Elaine mentioned, people are dying. This is kind of ominous unintentionally. And, she was right. So I asked Ian, like, how can we do this but differently? And then we conceived the idea for these robots, which is even more amazing because we've gone virtual, we've gone electronic, we've essentially created a cyborg film festival. So it works out perfectly. And really quick, I just want to appreciate the attention to detail. Even though I'm supposed to be talking about my own art, you can't not appreciate this, all the silhouettes here. And he's got a popcorn machine, you have candy right here, this guy's a ticket taker. It's truly amazing. And there are 2 versions of this poster, one with and without litter on the ground. I like the one with litter, but obviously that's not a good way to portray Ocean City. Okay, we're going to talk about my photography. I included this picture. This is the Bug Light in Portland, Maine. This is the most photographed lighthouse in the world, actually, which is a big piece of trivia. They tell everyone it might not be true, but who knows. I took this picture in 2016 when Kristen and I went to Portland. It's a beautiful place, so cold. It was November when we went there. And yeah, I just wanted to start in 2016 because like that's when I really started figuring out how to use a camera, and that's what I really liked. When I went to college, I wanted to learn how to make movies, and I didn't really think about it more than that. I just knew I wanted to make movies. I thought that I had like a voice and vision and I wanted to direct and write stories. That's like, you know, writing sucks. It's hard. I don't like it. And I've never been particularly good at it. And then I figured out, well, I can use a camera really well. And it actually really interested in me because writing is kind of subjective. It's artistic. And it's like, you know, I can consider something good and, you know, it might not be. And sure, there are writing conventions, but still it comes down to subjectivity, in my opinion. So with a camera, it's like, okay, what lenses are you using? How is it framed? You know, there's different things that make an interesting picture. And obviously, like I said earlier, the moment. And I'm fascinated by a lot of things in the world. So it just was this perfect art for me to really explore my creativity. And logistically, it's not as demanding as making a film. So this is a still image I shot on the set of a thesis film for which I was the cinematographer. We were shooting on a Blackmagic 4K wooden cinema camera. It's literally, the frame is made out of wood. It's a pretty cool camera. And that's the director, Danielle Gibson. We've shown her movies before. You might recognize Jarrett Bigsby from our tech team running sound on this film. And this was, the film was called Marcy's White Rabbit. We showed it 2017, I think. It was all right. You know, cinematography wise, I will always remember I shot in 30 frames per second, which if you're familiar with video, that's the video frame rate. Video's native frame rate is 30 or 60 frames per second, whereas film is 24 or 23.97 or even 25 in some instances. Not everyone can see the difference here, or if you do see it, you may not realize that's what you're seeing. It's just things move differently at the frame rate. Right now on this presentation, I'm certain we're all either in 60 or 30 frames per second. So I shot this film 30 frames per second. And I also, there's one shot in the movie, I don't think I have the movie on file, but one shot where I had to do a slow motion, like zoom out. And I did it manually with my hand. I was trying to do like a Stanley Kubrick thing because he does these long zooms in his films. And, you know, it's just so choppy because I didn't have a steady hand and I didn't have the patience to make the shot work out. But, you know, that's why I go to college to learn these things. But, you know, this is one of those things where at this point in college, this was 2016, I was just taking my camera everywhere, shooting everything and doing that. So up here, we have a drag queen named Chi Chi DeVane. Chi Chi is, I think she passed away last year. And there was a drag show at Towson where I met him rather, and it was really cool. I mean, I'm a huge fan of RuPaul's Drag Race personally, and I think it was great that Towson at all their events they had they are pretty good about bringing in like national titles for every little thing, which is cool. I mean, they're a state university, they can afford to do that obviously, but I thought this was really great, and I wanted to choose this picture because I mean we're in the middle of a really good season of Drag Race. We have a really good film called Lady A in this year's Ocean City Film Festival about a drag queen, and Chi Chi unfortunately passed away very recently and very young. So I shot this photo for the Tower Light, which is the student-run newspaper on which my wife was an editor at the time. So she would do all the articles. I would just follow around with my camera, and that's how it worked for a while when she was still a journalist. And this is another shot that I included because I mean, a lot of my photography portfolio prior to, I'd say 2020 was just like journalism stuff. So that's Larry Hogan, Peter Franchot on the Boardwalk, August of 2018 or 2019. I don't remember. This was for Trimper's anniversary. I don't remember which anniversary, to be perfectly honest. I just really like this shot. I like the textures. And I included this picture. So that client that hit me up the day I decided to start freelancing, this is him. This guy, I don't talk to him. I don't like him. He's horrible, unprofessional, and he's just really terrible. And I guarantee I'm not on his radar at all. So I'm going to shamelessly say that because I shot with him a few times. He was always a minimum of 2 hours late, no respect for my time. And what made this such a memorable experience that felt like a movie script in and of itself. So the shot where he's in the water, first of all, is hilarious because like this fully clothed man, this is behind the convention center in Ocean City. This fully clothed man, dressed sharp as ever, just gets in the water. He's like, "Here, I really want this picture. Can you do this?" I'm like, "Go right ahead." While he's in the water, his girlfriend, she goes through his phone. He's in the water, and she shouts out to him, "So why didn't you tell me you had a date last night?" And I'm just taking pictures, and it was just the most awkward thing ever. And they just had a constant back and forth, and I'm just trying to finish the shoot and get paid, and it was just a mess. And I will never forget that. It's the funniest story ever. Make a beautiful short film script. And after the fact, I mean, I had another shoot with him after the fact, and his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, afterwards, she actually paid for the shoot, and she paid me a lot of money for the shoot because the stipulation there is like, okay, give him another shoot, I'll pay for it, but you need to deliver this letter to him. And it was just, I don't know what was in the letter. I'm not gonna violate their privacy, but I did it. And I didn't tell him why I wasn't charging for the shoot, but you know, that's just one of those very strange situations I found myself in. So not to deviate too much from my presentation here. And I just want to say, making this presentation was very difficult because as someone who works in a creative medium, like I like to believe there's a little bit of art in every picture I take. So it was really a struggle for me to decide, so what am I going to consider my art versus my work? And I actually think I really do enjoy that ambiguity as someone who works with cameras, because like I said earlier, need to be creative in the things I do. And 2018, back to 2018, this is, I believe, Mick McAndrews. This was for the Artist Paint OC 2018. This was another one of my first freelance jobs, produced by the Art League of Ocean City. I took this picture. I just loved the scenery. This was a really fun project to work on because I would just, every morning I would wake up. It's like, okay, which painter do I want to hunt down? Some days I would like text them beforehand. Other days I would just drive through town and find someone just painting somewhere. And this was really interesting. I really enjoy profiling artists, obviously, because in a way, that's how I think I've been learning about art in the past few years. Because every time I would go to one of these painters, I would talk to them like, so why is this an appealing image to you? How did you start painting? And how'd you end up in Ocean City? What does it mean to be painting Ocean City? And it just really taught me a lot about how different people approach the craft and the common threads throughout different mediums. It was very interesting. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you want to learn something, just go straight to the people who do it and watch them. Granted, I'm not a painter or illustrator, maybe someday, but not now. But yeah, that was very interesting. This is at the West Ocean City Marina. And you can see it way up in the corner. I don't remember his name. He's another plein air painter. You can see him on the very end of the pier there. I talked to him too. So yeah, that's that. And 2018, summer 2018, we're gonna see some videos now. So in some ways, I consider this my first movie. I made movies throughout college. I made videos in high school. I really don't feel like I was an artist until very recently. I think a challenge that I had, especially in college, was whether I was making a film or making music. So much of what informed that art was the fact that I was really trying to imitate other things that I had seen in art, other films, other sounds. And this happened in 2018 because Kristen, my wife, was still writing for OceanCity.com, and they were doing a piece on Ocean Gallery World Center, which is this beautiful building right here. And I don't know if any of you have ever been there or if you've seen the movie. I know most of you have, but Joe Crowart is a very unique guy. And when I met him for the first time, following Kristen around, taking pictures, I was listening to what he said, and I found it very inspiring, just how he felt about art, how he runs his business. And he's like I said, a very unique guy. And I just totally fell in love with him. I fell in love with the building and like what he had there. So I only went there to take pictures that day, and I ended up just recording everything on video that I had. And after the fact, I was like, this is just so interesting. I couldn't get it out of my head. So I called Ocean Gallery. I asked them, you know, can I make a movie about this? And Joe Crowart, now, like he jumped on it like immediately without question, which is perfect. And I used this film really as a way to reteach myself how to pursue the craft of filmmaking. And I mean, that said, this very much, it's not an impressive like production value kind of film. It's there are some things I would change if I were to do it now. A lot of things structurally and technically, but real quick, I'll just show you our IMDb page here. Can you still see my screen? Yes, okay, everyone's silent, forgot about that. Oh, my dog's barking, so I'm sorry if you hear her. All right.
You can see your screen.
Good, good. So yeah, this is the IMDb. I believe it or not, anyone can really get on IMDb and make something for their movie. So it's not that exciting, but yeah, here's the summary. Ocean Gallery World Center has garnered international acclaim for 50 years, and which they have. And there are many local regional politicians who would stop in and give accolades and stuff. We were very fortunate to get some community bigwigs to be on camera in this film, like Jim Mathias, who is just so iconic in my opinion, who came to set one day and just had a blast. I got a clip of that that I'll show. And this is the poster. This was designed by a guy named Al O that my co-director Trevor knew. It was based off the P.T. Barnum circus posters because Joe Crowart, his whole thing is that people refer to him as the P.T. Barnum of fine art. So we figured we'd play off that. He considers himself a showman. So I will show you our official trailer and our Batman trailer. Can you hear this? Yes? Okay.
If you combine Ringling Brothers and Bill Nye the Science Guy, you might kind of get an idea of what Joe is.
I enjoy the great part of each individual person.
Art is fun.
Art is life, and it's entertainment. And people want to be entertained. And that's what this is all about. This is entertainment.
Ocean City is a magic place.
You don't have to exaggerate anything. It's just, just incredible.
Let's see, what else do we have here?
I have not seen that in a very long time. But yeah, that's the official trailer. Trevor Taylor cut that together. He's an amazing editor, and I met him at Channel 47. That's also where I met.
We have been blessed with this caring, thoughtful, loyal,
oh, this is
and
YouTube. I was wondering what that was. Okay, so yeah, I met Colin and Trevor at Channel 47, and I had started shooting the movie before I asked them to join me because, you know, I just figured might as well get some insight. I get some additional set of hands on the film. And Trevor was really inspired by Terry Gilliam with those animations reminiscent of Monty Python. And I'll just show this fun little trailer that we put together because, as you may be familiar, they have a Batmobile that lives at the gallery. So we figured this would be a fun little marketing piece.
we have it packed. Batman, I can't tell you about the Batcave or Robin.
I'm done playing Batman or Robin or whoever I'm supposed to be.
You guys stand right there on the trap door. That way, if it doesn't work, we can all make it past exit.
Ocean Gallery.
We were on a very secret mission, and the mission on the Batmobile, which you'll see here, was to go out and keep people safe in Ocean City. We're under the great watchful eyes in the shadow. I saw the bat sign up there, and I knew that all of us here in Ocean City were in good hands.
So yeah, that's the Batman trailer. We thought that would be fun to put together because it's such a part of Ocean Gallery. But yeah, this film came out in 2019. It used to be on Amazon Prime, but Amazon actually really cracked down on independent filmmakers. A lot of titles got removed fairly recently, so just so you know. But it lives on YouTube if for some reason you want to watch it. The thing with this film is if I were to do it now, I think it would be much more of a character study of Joe himself, which is something that I think I was a little too naive to do when we were making the film. I mostly just wanted to experiment, see where things went. So I had a blast making it. And like most of the summer of 2018, I feel like I practically lived in that building. And I'm still very close with all the people who work there and Joe. And yeah, it was such an experience. So if ever you make a documentary film, you definitely be thoughtful of your subject because they may not always be accommodating. They may not always open up the way you want them to. That's another reason that this film is less about Joe and more about the building is because he part of his complexity, he's very closed off. There's a quote from his son in the film where if you meet him in person, like outside of the gallery, like at his Baltimore residence or anything, he's very quiet and reserved, but in the gallery, he's the ringleader, as they call him. But that was such an experience for me. So that was 2019. So I'm trying to travel through time in my presentation. This picture was, I think it was the spring of 2019. This was from one of my real estate shoots. This was a house in Catonsville that was absolutely beautiful. It was this 120-year-old, just huge house, just nestled away. And yeah, that's part of why I liked doing real estate photography, because every once in a while I would have to go to a unique location like this. I mean, there were plenty of boring, overdone housing developments, but then I would see a piece of history like this, and there would, being all alone in a building like this is so weird. And finding old newspaper clippings, like you can see some gravel in the ground. There was stacks of books behind this pillar. And if ever you get into photography, I strongly recommend real estate because I found it to be a very meditative experience. But 2019 was kind of a year for me. It was very transitional in a career way. Following the 2019 Film Festival, I mean, it was really a conflict for me internally that, you know, I never really committed myself to a workplace. I lacked a lot of discipline, and I still, sorry, my dog is barking now. I had a lot to learn about just what I do as an organizer and just being a professional. So I ended up, well, before we get to that slide, I ended up, I'll discuss that more when we get to music, because that's really what got me back into music. But yeah, this is my other latest film that happened in 2020, the Ocean City Film Challenge. This is actually in the current film festival. I'm actually going to show the film now, just because there's not that many people on this that will compromise the festival. But this is a really interesting project I did that, you know, it's something I wasn't really expecting to do prior to this year. It's one of those things that, like, you know, the pandemic put me in a situation where I can make a film and try it out. So I'll just play it for you. It's pretty short.
I never found this town great, you know.
especially being a person of color, whether you're black, you're brown, native, whatever, is you just constantly feel like you're being othered, you know? Having an extra set of eyes on you at all times, because of what? Because of a quote-unquote tradition in a town, because your family wasn't the original family that was there, or the family that's ideal for the town. This quote-unquote family resort, it's ridiculous. 9 months out of the year, this town becomes a ghost town. And it's all for what? Business owners, workers, and they just hope that they can coast until those 3 months come where the tourism bus comes back through the town. And I saw something this season. Something that I knew that I shouldn't have seen, but I have. Because I know it saw me too. You drive down the coast and you see all these monolithic structures, these hotel buildings, these bars, these restaurants. They're all there and they're all just driving, trying to get people into the parking lot, trying to get people advertising. But I know it serves a more deeper purpose. I know it serves a darker purpose from just simply what a tourist can see and take pictures of and keep on their computer or their phone or in their brain. It's something deeper. And I just know that something is watching me. The structures, everything that's already in place, the infrastructure, it sometimes feels like they're just breeding us to feed us here. To feed them. Do I think too much? Is that my problem? I just don't know.
So yeah, that's the film I did for the film challenge. It's supposed to be kind of funny. So yeah, this was shot over the summer, obviously influenced by the pandemic. So I had a really strange experience, I guess Sunday. I sat on the panel as a filmmaker for the Ocean City Film Challenge, and it was moderated by Marlon Wallace. And he brought some things to my attention that I hadn't really thought about. And he was curious as to why I created sort of a critique of Ocean City. And, you know, when I think about Ocean City, it's a place that's very close to my heart. I love the Eastern Shore. I told you I consider myself a Delmarva native. And I refuse to say that there is nothing to critique about Ocean City. And, you know, sitting around this summer, like so many other people, with the pandemic happening, working from home, all the uncertainty, and of course the uprisings following George Floyd's murder, I was sitting with all these disconnected thoughts, all this frustration. I really didn't know how to express it. And then the Ocean City Film Challenge came along, and yeah, I had this idea for a film. It's like, so this guy's really frustrated and he sees something he can't unsee, which to me is like you know, the big movement we've had this past year of people finally like realizing, oh wow, this country has a lot of inequitable things going on, a lot of really terrible things happening to the environment. Every piece of our life is kind of, you know, in jeopardy in a number of ways, and that's not something you go back to normal life after learning, you know. So I was like, well, you see something you can't unsee, what do you do about it? And this guy in this film, if you listen to what he says, he doesn't really articulate it that well. He just kind of rambles. So that's all he does, and he just eventually gets absorbed into the TV screen as he stares into his own reflection. So that's basically the gist of the film. And I have a really dry sense of humor, so I thought it would be funny to have that quirky element of the cartoon eyeballs and of just this guy rambling and his partner just being totally indifferent to everything going on with him. So I'm very happy with this film, which is interesting because I mean, when I think about everything else I've done on a bigger production value, I'm incredibly dissatisfied with those films. So I think what made this work for me is that I had these limitations. I had my deadline. I knew that I had to have only one main character, and ideally another person to serve as a point of reference, someone to play off of, even though she's only there for a moment. And I don't think Kristen, my wife, who was playing that role, was really planning to be in the film at first. But yeah, I worked within these limitations. I did the whole thing in black and white, as you see. And I shot exclusively with a 50mm lens, and we only shot 2 days for this film. I drove around town with Ian, the actor, and also the guy who drew the eyes and designed the Film Fest posters. We drove around town one day to get all those tableaus, and then I shot again during the drive-in sequence and the car sequence. And the interesting thing about the drive-in, obviously that was the Ocean City Film Fest summer drive-in program that happened in 2020. And we shot the car close-ups in the Art League of Ocean City parking lot. And if you could notice when he takes off his glasses at the end, that actually takes place at the Art League of Ocean City facing Bayside during sunset, but you kind of missed the beautiful sunset colors because of black and white. But yeah, this is a film. It's in the Ocean City Film Challenge category. It had a pretty good run on the virtual festival circuit. It played AwesomeCon in DC virtually, of course, Screaming Ostrich Film Festival up in New England, and the Nightmares Film Festival. I don't remember where they're based, but Nightmares Film Festival is actually what gave me a first taste of Eventive, where we're doing this year's film festival. So just a piece of trivia. Didn't mean to do that. I actually created the score for that film. The first song you hear and the second song you hear. The last song is actually called They Breed Us to Feed, which was by Dylan Jones, who organizes Originals Online, and I've been working with him a lot the past year to make that program virtual also. So I really loved the title of that composition of his because it's so provocative, but like, what the hell does it mean, you know? So I thought that was perfect for this film because this film doesn't really go into detail about anything that's genuinely bothering this guy, except something about capitalism, something about Ocean City not really representing people of color. So that goes without saying. So now my music. We're going to talk about the year 2019, where I worked in an office that killed a piece of my soul and really just, it was horrible. It was like the most depressed I'd been since maybe I was a teenager. But yeah, I worked in a real estate investment office. I was unable to do anything because I was tired all the time. The guy I worked for, he must have endured some kind of childhood trauma because the way that he interacted with the people he worked with and the people that worked underneath him was just unacceptable in every way. But long story short, this guy's parents had a reputation where in the town of Annapolis as being the slumlords of Annapolis, and this guy had to inherit not only that legacy, but you know, it's a lot of stuff that come with it. It was a strange experience that left me with a lot of complicated emotions because obviously I didn't feel particularly welcome in that space. And the strangest thing about it all is how much I'd actually learned in that workplace, and that covers a lot of things. But the fact of the matter is, like, it was so terrible. I would quite regularly have panic attacks in the bathroom at that job. And just the reason I stuck with it is because, as you may recall, leading up to that job specifically, I had a bunch of jobs. I couldn't stand the fact that I couldn't anchor myself in one place. I thought that I had a serious problem. And in hindsight, you know, it's fairly not uncommon for people with my background as, like, you know, bachelor degree in media, not a lot of practical, actual on-set experience. So I was working with what I could get, and I was forcing myself to stick through that, thinking that maybe I can change the way I work and operate. Maybe I can just plant myself somewhere and make it work. And obviously I couldn't, because that was just a unique situation that caught me at the wrong place at the wrong time. Anyways, that job is like, between everything, I was just constantly listening to music. That was like my only escape. And I've been playing music myself for a very long time. If I hadn't gotten into film and video, I probably would have gotten into music, but I'm not classically trained at all. I've been playing in bands on and off since I was about 16 years old. In high school, I got really into punk rock. I had a band of the subgenre called Power Violence, which is it's like punk rock, but a lot louder and unpleasanter. And then in college, I had a sort of a dark wave band, kind of like The Cure or Joy Division, but, you know, not as polished. And I think it was my senior year of Towson. I actually took a class on songwriting for the first time since like middle school, and obviously I had to take band and stuff. So I learned how to compose MIDI, which I thought was really interesting and got me really enthused about making music again. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a MIDI composition that I did that really kicked off a lot of the things I do now. I'm not going to play the whole song, but I'll give you a taste because it's attached to my reel from 2018. So this is some footage I shot also when I first went freelance. So that's all I'm going to play. You get the A section and B section going on in that composition. Yeah, I had to make that as my final project in that composing class, and it was a really fulfilling experience. And the guy that my professor is a guy named Dr. William Redman, who is a very unique jazz artist. You should look up a band called Micro Kingdom. That's his band, and it's unlike anything I've heard in my life. If you are familiar with Miles Davis's album Bitches Brew, imagine that, but the songs are super short and super fast. It's truly a spectacle. So I'm really into instrumental music, and part of the reason that I struggled like trying to figure out my voice as an artist quite literally is the fact that I can't sing. And when I was trying to make music when I was younger, it was hard for me to just accept that. Trust me, it's just not a good situation for me to try to sing. So when I was working at CPM, just having a horrible time, you know, that's what really drove me to playing music again, because when it comes to actually sharing my art, I think the best that it gets, in my opinion, is actually performing music for people. Honestly, that's my favorite way to create and express art. And obviously that hasn't happened in a long time, but I was just in such a place that was like such an escape for me at the time. And I was able to start making new music, which I hadn't done since college. And I'm still making music, which is great as I learn new techniques. So I'm going to show you the kind of stuff that I do. My music project is called Moilo because in college I made music under the title Moya, which is my second last name because, as I mentioned, I'm Hispanic. My mother is Nicaraguan, and the Lo comes from my friends who I played music with, Dennis Smith and Shane Geisler. They were in a band called Milo when they were in college, so we jokingly called ourselves Moilo. Then I just appropriated it. So I'll just show you the kind of stuff I do. So let me find it. So it starts 403. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm just going to give you the A section and the B section so you understand. And this is the clip I'm showing is from Originals Online, which is I do the technical side, whereas Dylan Jones does the programming for the Art League of Ocean City. Sometimes we put our own music in there. So you get the idea. I'm really into surf rock, really into instrumental music, and I'm really into new wave. So my music sort of reflects that. And it was hard for me to really embrace the kind of sound that I want to do because for the longest time I was scared that people wouldn't listen to my music unless it had words, and then it's just like, you know, whatever, I like how it sounds. And I'll show you just another little sample that I really enjoy of the second time I did Originals Online, or third time. So 950. And this particular song I did was it has a bit of a different sound. It's more of like a noise pop kind of thing, but compositionally it's still got that surf influence, if you can hear through the guitar tones because they're kind of abrasive. Okay, after this. So yeah, that's another composition I had. I'm really happy with that one. I'm going to do a new version for the next time I have a release, which is hopefully later this year. But yeah, I mean, my music is really it's kind of niche in my opinion, but you know, I like what I like, so that's how I do it. And all of the production for all of these songs that I've shared with you, it was all me. I mean, the MIDI composition, it's all done in a computer. I actually did that composition in GarageBand because that's how we taught the class. But I have other compositions, MIDI compositions I'm really happy with. That first song, Carver, is actually titled after like my least favorite place in the world that I was introduced to at that office job of mine. It was a set of properties called on Carver Street, and we called it Carver. And every time I went there, something horrible was happening. It was just terrible. And that song was just sort of me exploring that angst. And this new one, I mean, so these two later demos were both self-produced. I use a drum machine software called Hydrogen. And the second one, I used a TR-808 emulator, which I'm going to be using more in the future. The TR-808 is a pretty common drum machine, especially for hip hop. So I really like that contemporary sound that it has. The Telecaster I was playing in the second video that was all purple, I actually built myself last year. which was super rewarding. One of those little things that I wouldn't have done if I didn't have the pandemic forcing me to, kill time. And that was an incredibly rewarding experience, building a guitar. It's got a beautiful sound too. And there were 2 guitar tracks and 1 bass track in the second song, Green Hilda. I played the bass. It's a fretless Squire that's pretty nice. The first guitar track, there's the lead that's going through a fuzz pedal. And then there's the rhythm guitar it kind of sounded like these really atmospheric stings. It was just me striking chords through a textured reverb pedal, which is really cool. So yeah, that's how I produce those, all in my basement by myself. So when I sometimes perform with players, so to speak, and they're generally my friends Dennis and Shane. The last time we performed was Originals Online, and the last time we performed in person was 2019 at Trader Lee's in West Ocean City. And I love that place, super fun. Those were actually events that I organized myself each time, at least one of the times. Dylan Jones was also helping me work that out. But those were fun, very fun. And the guy with the mustache, Dennis, I don't know if you saw him with the mustache in the thumbnail of one of those clips, but he makes music also. And he makes sort of like modular synth. I don't know how you describe it. It's not necessarily atmospheric, but he's really into modular synths, and he just put out a vinyl record release with another mod synth artist. And the special thing about that is I took the picture on the album cover. This is Mammoth Springs in Montana, Yellowstone National Park in Montana. And I've never had my artwork printed on physical media like this. So really cool, really validating. And it's even better that it's a good friend of mine. So yeah, just want to share that with you. He's on Spotify, so am I. I don't have a lot of listeners right now because I have not been trying to push my music. Yeah, there's a picture of us. But yeah, I'm probably not going to touch a guitar until this film festival's wrapped up. But there you have it. I mean, that's my music in a nutshell. It's I like it a lot more because I can be a lot more emotional with my music because I don't have to manifest it into words like I would in a film script. And the funny thing about They Breed Us to Feed, I had wrote a monologue for Ian, and Ian he improvised most of it, but that's the rough outline. And if any of you, I know most of you know Ian, but if you don't and you get a chance to talk to him, he's a very much like a different person in front of the camera. He's an incredible performer, like totally, but you wouldn't know it. You really wouldn't. And he also makes music himself. He actually worked on a track with me on one of my recent Moilo releases. And if you can guess, he also made my little logo here. So I got a pretty tight group of artists I collaborate with. And that concludes my presentation. I can only stress that if you haven't checked out this year's film festival, which I'm certain you all have kind of at this point, check it out. It's still active until Thursday. You can follow me on Instagram. You can go to my website. I haven't updated it in a while because I'm at a point where I really have no reason to be marketing myself. Through the pandemic, I have taken on some freelance work, but that's only because my schedule permits somehow. And of course, ocmdfilmfestival.com is where you can learn more about the Ocean City Film Festival. So does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns?
It's funny, Biel. Thank you for that great presentation. I was going to ask you about that script from that movie, if you wrote it or if he improvised it, because it really sounded really flowing and nice. And I was wondering how that went down.
It was a little bit of both. I'm glad it sounded flowing, but I wrote a script that was almost the same thing, a little more detailed, but yeah, he took it and went with it because I know for a fact he shares similar frustrations to me, if not more so. So I think it worked very well for him, and I know I can always count on him to just deliver me a performance, even if it's not exactly what I want. I know he's going to do something interesting, which is incredible. If you work with someone like that, you want to keep working with them.
Mm-hmm. It was great to see your phases of your creative energy between the photography, the music, and the film. So
Thank you. Yeah, I try
ahead.
to do just whatever feels right at the time. And I'm probably not going to be making anything new for a while. Yes, Mrs. Lehman?
It's really been fun to watch you from your experience as a high school student and to follow you through these years of how your art is progressing, and to see that you are actually, I think, brave enough to follow your instincts and to move from job to job until you have found one that you really feel comfortable in. And to know that your ideas as you started this film festival have just grown into something that I think is really going to continue to be an amazing opportunity for Ocean City and for individual filmmakers. And I hope you will stick with it, because I think you're doing a marvelous job and I'm enormously proud of you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I plan to do this for the foreseeable future. So yeah, and I got a message from John's iPad. He said I sound like Link Ray musically, and if you're not familiar with Link Ray, he's actually a huge influence of mine. Link Ray wrote Rumble, and if that song is famous because it was an instrumental that came out in the late 50s, and it was banned from being played on the radio because they thought it would incite violence. So we actually performed that live when we played at Trader Lee's a few times. But yeah, Mrs. Lehman, I appreciate that very much. I want to do this festival for the foreseeable future. I keep thinking like now that I work at a university and I'm getting my master's, and when it comes to what I'm actually going to do with my career, it looks like this is basically going to be it, which is a good thing. You know, it has been on my running through my mind for a good period of my life that like maybe I do want to work in education. So once I get my master's, I can be eligible to be a full-time lecturer. So we'll see if and when that happens. But I do love working in academia. It's been a wonderful experience, wonderful change of pace. You know, I came from the most anxious, stressful workplace of my life. And my first few weeks at Towson were an adjustment, because it's like, am I doing things right? But no, my supervisor, she just took me to my office. She said, here you go. And I was like, this is it. And, you know, I do have to be very autonomous and a lot of responsibility. That's a big responsibility in and of itself, but I'm thankful that I'm in this position.
Yeah, congratulations. I think that's wonderful for you.
Thank you.
While I was watching you talk about your various jobs, and I thought about myself, you know, when you're in working in a creative field, sometimes you just have to figure it out along the way. And my gosh, I've been in some of those jobs too.
I'm glad you understand. Yeah, it was crazy. But I just remember, you know, when I did try to force myself like into the job that I had before freelancing that I didn't even list because it was only 2 days. I mean, it's like nauseatingly unprofessional that I was just a no-show for that. But like, you know, the amount of misery I had from those 2 days alone, it's like, what, like, this can't be right. And then Harvick, that was the name of the guy, the model that I worked with. Of all the things to be the catalyst for going freelance, I'm glad it was him and that very strange experience that spanned about a week.
You did some nice work for him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It like beautiful like timing. Maybe he was purposefully making me wait until the sun was in the right position. But I mean, you know, I'm happy with those photos, and I even did do a video. But like, you know, that guy, I would never want to work with a client like him again.
At least you have a funny story to go along with it, though.
Yeah.
That was hysterical. God, I can't believe that actually happened. It was so awkward.
Well, I think you've been tested in any number of ways, and you're coming through it in a really fine form. So all of those experiences are just formative experiences that are helping you and will continue to help you in the future. And I love that you continue to work with Ian. I didn't have the pleasure of having Ian as a student when I was teaching at Decatur, but now that I've gotten to know him post his graduation, I am always amazed at his artwork, and I think he really is someone who's worth watching on film, and I'm glad he's willing to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And he has been a big influence for me too, because I did, you know, I feel like my friendship with him is really built on creative projects. We've always been collaborators in a way. And a couple of years ago, I did a little video profile of him and about his music, and I incorporated his illustrations. And he said something about how I don't remember the quote exactly, but it took him a very long time to be honest in his artwork, and that like stuck with me. And that's something that I was really meditating on for the past few years. And I feel like I'm finally doing it myself in a way. I'm just, you know, trying to get better at the art I do. But I feel like I'm finally being honest in the stories I want to tell, and the just the way I want to craft things, whether it's music or video.
Talking about his art, is there a store set up or a shop set up for this a film festival with T-shirts, hats, things like that?
If you go to the About page on our website, there is a shop. I'll show you actually, because I have it up in a tab right here.
All right.
You know, I always got this website in a tab. So yeah, here's our shop.
Okay.
And yeah, you can get a signed poster, and it takes you to just the payment form on the Art League website.
Okay.
All right.
I like the hats.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
No, we didn't make a T-shirt this year.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I think we have all of his other posters so far from the.
Yeah.
We buy one every year of his, and I have some other pieces of artwork of his as well. I really like what he does.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's got a great.
His performance name, Mr. Something or other, but
George Glass.
Yes.
You know, something really funny. Something that I discovered. So a very long time ago, a few years, maybe like four or 5 years ago, he made a rap EP under another pseudonym that he made as a joke, and it's beautiful. Like, he's so creative. He made this EP compiled of like 5 different rap artists, but they were all him, different characters, voices that he did on all these songs, and they're so well produced and they're amazing. And I always try to ask him about it, and he's just so embarrassed by it. But it's like, why would you hide this talent? Because not only can he rap, he can do it in different voices specific to different characters that he came up with to begin with. And he told me recently ish that that EP that he put out under that pseudonym, Popsicle, it's on Bandcamp, but it gets a lot of attention in like Sweden, and every once in a while, out of the blue, someone will email him about his music. It's like, yeah, I love your music, and he gets so excited thinking they're talking about George Glass. Yeah, there's the ice cream. Yeah, he'll be excited thinking they're talking about George Glass, but no, they're talking about Popsicle and that whole EP. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, as a senior citizen, it's fun to watch you young kids make your art. It's just great.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad this went over time. I was scared I wouldn't have enough to say because I tend to talk really fast.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I got nothing else going on today except the Walker props panel.
BL, can you just for those of us that are going to watch people that are going to watch the recording of this, say something about the drive-in and what we have planned?
Yeah, I can do that. So on Friday, March 26th and Saturday, March 27th, the Ocean City Film Festival is presenting a drive-in at the Ocean City Inlet. The Friday program begins at 8 p.m. with doors at 7 p.m. And we will be featuring a music video called Sheena Doesn't Mind, and it was directed by Emmy Shockley and edited by Tate Shockley. And immediately following the music video, we are reviving Dave Messick's Reggie's Forest. If you're familiar with the film, we showed it in the 2020 Ocean City Film Festival. And on Saturday, March 27th, in the afternoon, I believe 2 p.m., we are showing, does it start at 2 p.m.? Ooh, I don't remember. But Saturday, we're having a matinee.
It's 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Okay, Saturday, the 27th at 3 p.m., we are having a matinee featuring all of the award-winning films of the Ocean City Film Festival. So that includes all our award-winning shorts, and our award-winning feature, Lights of Baltimore. In between this film, well, this matinee will be a double feature, so there will be a half-hour break in between, but it's one ticketed screening. So, you know, commit to a double feature, or you're still gonna have to pay for half of it, just so you know. And Saturday evening, we are bringing back My Amityville Horror, which we featured in this year's festival. And if you don't know about this film, it was released, I think 2012, 2013. Basically, it was produced, directed, written by a guy from Salisbury, Eric Walter. Lived here his whole life, went off to work on this passion project. He's been working in Hollywood since. And we're bringing it back because it's never had its homecoming screening, and now it does. So you're definitely going to want to see that. And that film starts at 8 p.m. Am I correct?
Yes.
8 p.m., doors at 7. And it's really a unique film. So definitely check it out. The admission is $25 per car, and parking is limited to 200 vehicles.
Okay.
Okay,
And that is our
thanks.
drive-in.
Thanks. All right. Well, thank you, BL. Thanks, everybody, for listening and for attending the Ocean City Film Festival virtually, and then also the drive-in coming up. And there's lots more to come this season because we're planning some things for summer and fall. And also, thanks for all the support of everybody on the committee, and including Don and Gwen for judging and all the work getting the films. So, Aubrey,
Thank you all.
before we
Bye,
sign off?
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.